So you're considering embryo adoption and you're asking, how long does the embryo adoption process take? Well, you're in the right place because I'm going to cover just that. What's up? My name is Corlendos Scott, and I'm an assisted reproduction attorney, and my entire practice is built around helping people grow their families through assisted reproductive technologies like surrogacy, embryo adoption, sperm donation, egg donation, and all that sort of fun stuff. So in this video, when we're looking at how long embryo adoption takes, we're going to look at some parallels with typical adoption. We're also going to look at some different program-based requirements. And then we'll also cover the distinction between embryo adoption and embryo donation. And it may not be as different as you think. So stick around to the end because I also have a free gift just for you, but only if you stick around. Let's jump into it. So how long does it take? I know you're ready for this. Your favorite, or should I say least favorite, lawyer answer. It all depends. Yeah, I wish I had a better one, but I don't. And here's why. It really depends on where you're getting your embryos donated or where you're adopting your embryos from, and also the services that you're utilizing. So for instance, with the National Embryo Donation Center, it may take up to around 6 months. At other places like Donor Nexus, it could be anywhere between 8 to 10 months. And if you're in the UK and you're working with the Embryo Adoption Awareness Center, it could be anywhere up to 16 months. When we're looking at embryo adoption, many times the agencies that are facilitating the process, they take an approach that is similar to traditional adoption. In traditional adoption, we're looking at placing a living child in the custody of a set of parents. So, in that process, there's a lot of screening that gets done. And these embryo adoption agencies take a very similar approach to deciding how and who to match their embryos with. When we're looking at embryo adoption through an agency, there's definitely parallels with traditional adoption. Agencies take a very similar approach. In traditional adoption, we're looking at placing a child into the custody of a parent or parents. Similarly, the agencies that work around embryo adoption, they look at the approach of also placing an embryo into the custody of a parent or parents, and so they do a very similar screening process. This process can require the recipients to provide the agency with certificates, their diplomas, their educational background. It can even require recipients or potential recipients to provide their tax returns for the prior 2 years. Some agencies even ask for a financial overview to make sure that the potential recipients are financially stable and can likely afford to raise a child. And then there are other documents that these agencies may request just according to their own internal requirements. Also have a parallel with traditional adoption because some embryo adoption agencies require home studies or social studies so that they can assess the home condition of the potential recipients as well as their social environment. When we're trying to determine how long the embryo adoption process takes, all of these steps and all of these qualifiers take time. That's why you get some of those numbers that I mentioned before. Depending on what agency or provider you're working with and their requirements, it could take all those months for you to get the information to them and for all that information to be reviewed. Let's look at some of the differences in requirements depending on what type of organization you decide to work with. It's important that if you're considering embryo adoption, you take a look at the different options available so that you can see which one lines up with what you're willing to undergo as far as the screening and qualification process is concerned. So when you're working with an agency, here are a few things you can expect. The typical embryo adoption agency is going to require a home study. They're also likely to require an agency fee in order to match you with the type of embryo you're looking to adopt. When working with an agency, there's likely to be another set of individuals or an individual on the other side of this quote unquote adoption process. So there will need to be a legal contract between yourself as the recipient and that donor who's donating the embryos to you. Also keep in mind, you may have to pay a shipping fee if the embryos need to be moved from the fertility clinic where they're currently stored to the fertility clinic of your choice. There's also the option of working with some nonprofit organizations. For a typical nonprofit organization assisting with embryo adoption, here's something that you can expect. Although not all of them require a home study, I would at least be prepared for the chance that they may. When working with some of the nonprofit organizations, it's less likely that you're going to have to deal with a third party. Oftentimes, these organizations have the embryos already banked so that the donors have already made the donation and gone their separate way. Also, many times, in order to become nonprofit certified and obtain nonprofit status with the government, they have to have some type of non-discrimination policies. So it will matter less your marital status, your gender, your age, and things of that nature. So make sure you look at the policies of the nonprofit organization you're looking into. One of the other benefits of working with a nonprofit organization, potentially, is that there may not be a wait list. So all the time that we talked about it taking at the beginning of the video, you may be able to cut that down. Now, before I talk about the distinctions between embryo adoption and embryo donation, do me a favor. Make sure to click below to subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. If you're getting value out of this content, trust me, I've got a lot more where this came from. So hit the alert button right beside subscribe and make sure you know exactly when I launch new videos. So you may be asking yourself, well, Corlendos, I've heard of embryo donation. Why would I do embryo adoption? And is there a difference? Many times people use those terms interchangeably. And for the most part, it doesn't really matter because the end result is the same. But the distinction comes in the process of getting to possessing those embryos. So let's look at embryo adoption. As we've discussed, in embryo adoption, you're working through an agency or an organization to help determine if you fit their criteria for adoption. So they are going to take the same approach as a traditional adoption. So with embryo adoption, you're looking at a process to qualify and go through their criteria to be deemed eligible to receive their embryos. Now, embryo donation can be a lot different and quicker. In embryo donation, sometimes you simply have one parent or a set of parents finding another set of recipients who hope to be parents and just simply making an arrangement to transfer ownership of their stored embryos. In that process, it's up to the parents to choose whoever they want to donate to. They're not going to make people go through some long drawn out process. They're not in the business probably of going through an adoption criteria process. So in the embryo donation process and in the embryo adoption process, the end result is the same. You're trying to take possession or ownership of embryos with the hope of growing your family. It's just in one, there's a much more drawn out process than in the other. Now you know all about the timing of embryo adoption. If you got value out of this video, you may also be thinking about some other sides of assisted reproduction, like surrogacy. Well, if you are in luck because I have something that's free and it's just for you. It's called my 3 T's of surrogacy success. And it's the framework that I use to walk my clients through how to have a stress-free and clean, clear surrogacy process. In it, I discuss team, terms, and tact. So if you want to know exactly what that's all about, click the link below and get your access to the 3 T's of successful surrogacy. It's free, so just go ahead and click.